in the sun-scorched deserts of southern New Mexico. There's a place where silence hides decades of classified experiments, catastrophic detonations, and the birth of modern warfare. This immense, barren landscape is known as the White Sands Missile Range. To most, it's just endless white dunes under a blistering sun. But beneath that quiet surface lies one of the most secretive test environments in American history. A place where the Cold War was forged, where rockets soared before NASA even existed, and where the world's first atomic weapon turned the night sky into a second sun. White Sands began as a remote, empty patch of desert, chosen precisely because no one lived there. It was the ideal spot for experiments that were never meant to be witnessed. In 1945, the U.S. government selected this site for the Trinity test, the detonation of humanity's first nuclear device. When the bomb exploded, the shockwave shattered windows over 100 miles away. The light was so bright it momentarily turned the mountains into silhouettes against an artificial dawn. Few people realized that blast was only the beginning. The desert would soon become a sprawling, high-security laboratory. Fueled by Cold War pressure and a hunger for technological supremacy, the U.S. military, with the help of German rocket scientists, would redefine the limits of warfare right here. After the Manhattan Project's success, White Sands evolved into America's premier missile testing zone. German scientists brought to the U.S. under Operation Paperclipping. Werner von Braun and his V-2 team arrived with blueprints and knowledge the world had never seen. Here, far from public eyes, they reconstructed and launched captured V-2 rockets, the same weapons that had once terrorized Europe. But in the hands of American engineers, those rockets were reimagined as stepping stones to space. White Sands became the launch pad where early U.S. rocketry learned to crawl and then sprinted toward the future. Locals would see streaks of fire ripping across the sky. They'd hear thunder rolling across the desert even on clear days, and watch military convoys escorting classified cargo down roads patrolled by armed guards. In a world recovering from one war and entering the tension of another, White Sands was a hidden arena, place where superpowers competed not with armies, but with explosions of innovation. But rockets were only part of the story. Over the next decades, White Sands tested nearly every type of missile in the American arsenal. Surface, ballistic, tactical, and experimental designs so unusual they were never even publicly named. For the engineers and soldiers living there, it was a world of constant danger. A misfire could mean disaster. A malfunction could send flaming debris, scattering for miles. Stories circulated from those who worked on the inside tailies of missiles that vanished mid-flight, of strange lights in the sky that radar couldn't identify, of night tests where the horizon glowed red and blue like an otherworldly storm. The desert became a graveyard of metal fragments, lost prototypes, and machines that had no name or purpose outside the military imagination. Each piece buried in the sand held the echo of an era when secrecy was survival. As the Cold War intensified, White Sands became one of the most critical sites for weapons development. The U.S. needed missiles that could intercept enemy aircraft, satellites, and even incoming nuclear warheads. Many of those tests happened right here. Patriot missiles, Nike rockets, and experimental interceptors all streaked through the skies above the dunes. Some experiments involved radar systems capable of tracking objects hundreds of miles away. Others tested high-speed drones, early guided weapons, and prototypes that today form the backbone of American defense. To the public, these were just military progress. Inside White Sands, there were glimpses into a future where wars could be decided long before soldiers ever reached a battlefield. But for all its controlled precision, White Sands remained a place of mystery, some natural, some technological, and some never fully explained. Pilots reported unidentified lights moving in impossible patterns during night flights. Radar operators tracked objects that accelerated beyond any known aircraft's capabilities. Strange metallic debris was sometimes found after tests, sparking speculation about classified craft or technological accidents. And of course, just a short drive from the missile range, Liz Roswell, the site of the 1947 crash that birthed America's greatest UFO legend. While the Roswell incident is separate from White Sands, the proximity of these locations, the nuclear test site at Trinity, the German rocket engineers, the rapid development of new propulsion systems, was enough to fuel decades of speculation. For many, this desert became a symbol of hidden experimentation, a place where the line between science and secrecy blurred into nothing. In addition to missiles and classified aircraft, White Sands played a pivotal role in space exploration. Before Cape Canaveral became America's launch hub, rockets tested at White Sands collected atmospheric data, carried biological experiments, and paved the way for NASA's earliest programs. Monkeys, fruit flies, and scientific payloads soared above Earth's atmosphere from this isolated desert long before astronauts ever strapped into their rockets. Some flights succeeded. Others ended in fiery crashes that scattered wreckage across miles of dunes. These trials, both triumphant and tragic, helped to define the limits of human spaceflight, transforming theoretical physics into practical engineering. When the U.S. eventually reached the moon, the first footprints of that achievement were already embedded in the sands of New Mexico. Yet the range is not just a monument to technological triumph. It's also a reminder of the hidden cost of secrecy. Families who lived nearby recalled seeing strange clouds drifting across the horizon after tests, smelling metallic dusts after explosions, and experiencing unexplained illnesses. The Trinity test site itself still contains a glassy greenish rock known as formed when the bomb's intense heat melted sand into radioactive glass. Today, visitors are only allowed onto the site twice a year, for just a few hours, and are instructed not to pick up anything. The desert remembers what humans have tried to bury. In many ways, White Sands is both a testing ground and a time capsule, a place where the past lingers in the soil, in the radiation, and in stories kept quiet for decades. Even now, White Sands remains active. Missiles still roar into the sky. Classified technology still moves along restricted roads. Modern defense systems like directed energy weapons, advanced interceptors, and experimental propulsion are tested in the same desert where early rocket pioneers once walked. Satellites tracked from above, and command centers watch from afar. The range has evolved into a digital battlefield where simulations and live-fire tests merge, yet the sense of mystery remains intact. Cameras are forbidden in certain areas, radio signals are monitored, and the legacy of secrecy continues to shape the identity of the range and the people who work there. White Sands. Missile Range stands today as a symbol of America's pursuit of technological dominosa. Pursuit born from fear, driven by competition, and cemented by the belief that the future belongs to those who innovate in silence. It is a place where America tested its first atomic weapon, rebuilt the foundations of rocketry, sharpened the tools of the Cold War, and paved the way for missions to space. But it is also a place where questions linger. How much of what happened here will remain classified forever? What breakthroughs were sealed behind reinforced doors? And what stories lie buried beneath the dunes, waiting for time or accident to reveal them? In the vast emptiness of White Sands, the wind is the only witness that has seen everything. It has carried the dust of rocket launches, the shock waves of explosions, and the whispers of scientists who worked in the shadows. And as long as the desert remains quiet, the mysteries will remain alive, not erased, but hidden. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the secrets of White Sands fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the world's most hidden places.